Bros play.
Hey brother, you ready to go out in the Warframe?
Is that where we're going?
We're gonna go to Dion.
So we're in a Warframe is what you meant.
We are in a Warframe.
Yeah.
The Warframe is hang on. Solo. I was like, why is it giving me 10 seconds? Okay. There we go, that's better. So you said you played Warframe once upon a time, like 10 years ago?
Yeah, like before like creation. Time hadn't
Before the beginning of creation.
begun yet, yeah. It was a weird time because we didn't it was hard to play video games without a computer because it hadn't been created yet.
Yeah, before creation.
It was 2012, so I heard the greatest thing about young people. Someone was just like, "We were doing fine before you got here. If you can believe it, there was a time before you existed." So shut the fuck up.
Yeah, time goes on, life goes on.
Boy, you weren't.
Yeah, I wasn't kidding. This was way too loud. Yeah. Everyone's trying to muck everybody's barn over here.
You know what we should probably do is, you can usually change the audio settings of a game to the dynamic range.
Really?
Yeah, so you can change it to nighttime, which takes the highs and lows and crunches them. It's not nearly as good to listen to, but it probably would actually back a Let's Play much better, actually, now I'm thinking about it.
That actually makes a lot of sense. Yeah, just so that we don't get some of the extreme highs and lows. I want that for my goddamn television when I try and watch a movie. Like, yeah, can't I just hear explosions at the same noise as whispers? Isn't that okay? Am I not allowed to want that?
There's probably an audio I mean, these TVs have optical, what do they call it? You just make that man in half from an arrow? Oh,
yeah,
Lord.
I do that from time to time.
Oh, no.
So, I don't know, so back in the beta days, because I played this really early in the beta as well, certain things existed and certain things didn't. So the mission we're doing right now is a really old mission. It's called Spy, where you gotta get in there and you gotta steal all this data. But some of the weapons have changed and they've added all these new features. Watch, this guy's about to go through the fucking wall.
What?
Zip. So he just disappears through that wall. I think they meant to do something else. But yes, there's also a lot of weird bugs with this game.
So stealing data, you say spy, what you actually mean is ISP.
Something like that.
Internet service provider.
yes, we are the ISP in this circumstance. So
major. I wish I knew more about data problems for me to make more jokes about this, but I don't.
Are you sure you want to know? Because it's an ugly truth.
Yeah. Usually the answer is yes. To the question, are you sure you want to know? That's usually a yes, because I'd rather know what's going on.
Yeah, and put up with it. That's kind of true.
Or make a change. I was following the Amazon train until I started to understand how much it was affecting my community.
Fuck, I know.
And then I also had some terrible experiences with Amazon where I was like, these fuckers don't give a fuck about shit.
You want to know the newest development in that world is Walmart has now announced they're looking to go into streaming to compete with Amazon.
Of course they are.
Because
you can't just fucking stay in your lane now. You have to be like, no, I'm gonna build a fucking truck that takes up 3 fucking lanes at once.
Well, it was just so funny because so my fiance comes home and she's all pissed off about Walmart.
Well, fucking congratulations, by the way.
Thanks, brother.
Name dropper.
I appreciate
Title
it.
dropper.
Well, I wasn't gonna call her my girlfriend. That's just disrespectful.
No, I just, it's just hard to not notice that when you say that.
I know, and people at work have been doing that too. They're like, oh, don't think I didn't notice that. But she comes home and she's complaining about Walmart's service and how, this wasn't done, this one section was horribly maintained. And I was like, well, let me just add fuel to the fire. They're also splitting their attention. They don't give a shit about their stores when they're going into online streaming.
I fucking hate that.
What, Walmart or streaming?
The future.
Future.
It's crazy, man. 13's Continuum, the TV show,
Yeah.
is predicting our future so fucking well that it's alarming.
Actually.
I mean, they fucking predicted, like, hate groups that pose as positive, enlightened groups. They actually had that in 13.
Really? So they pioneered wokeism.
No, it was worse than that. According to, I know what can be worse, but according to Continuum, so you find out about the future, which is like 2077. It's in Vancouver too, so it hits home for me. I mean, we're pretty far from Vancouver, but like Vancouver's more like where we live than New York, which is closer physically. But
it's true. Well, I have friends out there, so yeah, I get it.
And they've got, what do they call it? The control or something? CP, I think is what it's called. I forget what. Oh shit! It kind of ruins my point here.
I believe it's called the CRTC.
No. they have like the corporate police basically. Like
shit.
So the new. It's kind of like the new founding fathers from the Purge,
yeah.
but they're the corporate Congress, and they've got like their police are like corporate police too. It's really fucked up.
Yeah, and you mentioned that's all about debt, right? It's like life debt.
Yeah,
or something?
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
Jesus.
And the show, I'm pretty sure, got canceled before it like found its like it actually made its way. And it's a show about time travel, so it gets pretty wacky. I'm not sure if it would have become like I'm not sure if it would have saved itself. Like,
given enough time.
Maybe it was on its way into the dirt anyway. But
oh god, it's the jackal.
He's the jackal.
It's a jackal.
It's a jackal.
Can't believe it's a jackal.
But they have like they imply that this corporate police program comes into effect after university riots get too violent,
which is exactly where we're at now.
Right. And
yeah,
that was at a time where I don't think anybody really like thought that we were going that direction. I guess somebody had to. But.
Well, it was probably before Evergreen. Like, have you ever seen the documentary about Evergreen?
No. I don't know what that is.
It's I don't know if I recommend it for everybody because you have to have a lot of stamina to get through it. But Evergreen College had this really weird, basically a riot where certain teachers had to be basically taken into protective custody, and the students took over the campus, and they were like, they basically imprisoned the teachers. Like, the teachers had to ask permission from the students to go to the bathroom, and
Whoa.
They were like roving around the campus with baseball bats looking for one of the professors. And
holy moly.
yeah, it was really serious, and it was like the first time where people said, look, like, this stuff isn't gonna stay here. It's gonna spread. And so Benjamin Boyce, who was actually a TA at the school, put together a documentary series. The first 23 parts of the documentary series are all about the initial incident, and then the remaining, like, 12 parts are about the aftermath.
Whoa.
So it's a lot, because they're 20 minutes per episode times 23 parts. So that's a long documentary. Like, it's an absurdly long documentary.
Wow.
But it was really terrifying. Yeah, so
That man was walking around like he was hot shit.
he thought he was hot shit. So the reason I like this bow, it's called Dread. And it has what they call decapitation ability, which means it does extreme damage. So I killed that first guy with 8,000 damage, and then it just did 17,000. Yeah, so these guys don't stand a chance.
So this game, I don't know the story, but I know that it has a good one, if that makes any sense.
And
so,
in fact, I'm in a guild that outlaws spoilers. Like, that's how much people enjoy.
Oh, no, I don't mean... I mean the game's in-game story. I mean the story behind it becoming successful.
Oh, and its development. Oh, okay.
Potted snake!
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. You like that?
I was just watching that. Fucking potted snakes are on the rise! Oh my god, I love memes.
Oh, yeah.
I love our memes too.
So you see how it says identified down here? Like identified prime rounds and cryo rounds, all this shit?
Yeah.
So each identified item I got for successfully stealing the data. So that's what these missions are for, is to get extra items for them.
Detonate Ambule.
Yeah, but sorry, continue with your story.
It's just I'm pretty sure that like the game was fizzling out, and then the nature of the developers like got it back into. Now it's fucking huge.
It's massive. And one thing I thought was really cool is that the initial game was designed to be kind of directionless. It was just, go wherever you want to go and try whatever you want to try.
Yeah.
But they've now designed it where there's there is very much a story mission where you have to go through the planets in the right order and you have to do certain missions to get past certain planet connections. So
Cool.
unlike before where it was just like, hey, have fun, collect weapons, now there is actually like a progression. And then once you get past that, then you get into like, quote unquote end game content.
I love planets. It's so rarely done well in a video game.
Yes.
Like Ratchet and Clank is one of the few games where like planets feel like they matter. Like you go to like Mass Effect and there are some planets you go to where there's nothing to do.
Wait, which game?
Mass Effect.
Oh, Mass Effect.
It's just fucking empty. It's like, oh, you can go and survey it. It's like I can drive around in an 8-wheeled truck and just kind of like look at stuff. Okay.
It's exciting.
So what Ratchet and Clank did really well, and I think to a degree, the second, third, and Rift Apart, which I keep forgetting about. I'm fucking sleeping on Rift Apart, buddy. I think the whole world might have slept on Rift Apart. But you make each planet, if you design the level so that it feels different from the rest of the levels, but also design it so well that you feel satisfied by the time you're done with that little like handcrafted level, you feel like you've explored the planet when you've really only explored like a 50 by 50 area.
It just needs to appear larger, like especially with Ratchet and Clank, there was a lot of non-playable areas that were really just there to give you ambiance, right? Make you feel like it.
I know you know this from designing video games that you have to figure out what is what collides with what.
Yeah.
And that takes up space. So the smallest amount of space is something that doesn't interact with anything else. That's just like a visual thing, right?
Yeah.
And that game is so ahead of its time. It's like pushing the PS2 so fucking hard that basically everything you can't get to is not you don't collide with it.
Right.
So people have figured out this technique with the helipack, which is hilarious. Speedrunners use the helipack, not the jetpack, which is actually the upgraded version of the pack.
I know.
And when I play Ratchet and Clank, I don't use the jetpack because I don't like it, and it doesn't like have the aesthetic that like matches Ratchet and Clank.
It's a little awkward. Yeah.
I just like it doesn't do anything except for let you hover so you can strafe, which is like awkward as fuck too. But it also, I think you can do like an extra butt slam on like a door lock. Like the door lock makes you butt slam on it with a jetpack. But beyond that, you don't need to use it. So I never did. I always switched back to it because I just enjoy the helipack aesthetic. It fits so much better. It makes more sense like from the lore perspective, because the little jetpacks, the little helicopter packs come out of Clank's armholes, but when he's a jet, he's just got like big fucking jet arms, and I'm like, I'm not gonna make the man walk around with jet arms like
all the time.
Come on, man. So it's funny. So the helipack is actually used by speedrunners because there's this thing you can do where you can gain momentum. So even though you're not jumping higher, you're moving faster. It's the same size jump, but because you're moving so much faster, you will go like 50 yards with a single hop. And so people fly through the map and just know three-dimensionally where the end of the level rests from the beginning of the level, and they'll just fucking fly through the ground all the way over to the ending of the level
Because it's non-collidable.
it's all
Wow.
It's basically just a projection.
There's not necessarily anything wrong with that, because like
They weren't gonna make that game. This is one of the only games that runs well at all on the PS2.
yeah, exactly.
Still to this day, it's absolutely timeless, and it's one of the things I love so much that it's one of the few things I've ever considered making an additional mid show about it,
Yeah.
because I don't think you can get it all into one video.
Yeah, and I know what you mean about that, because do you want to focus on the brilliance of the game? Do you want to focus on like the cool, neat little aspects of the game? Do you want to focus on the overall design? There's so many good things about it.
I think if I returned to it, I would do a step-by-step to actually give you the experience of going from planet to planet. And, you know, we can't open this thing now, so we'll have to come back to it later. And that kind of like you can't really give somebody that feeling without taking the time between the two things to unlock the thing.
Yeah, no, I think that it is very, very true. Oh, wait, what the hell? Sorry, I couldn't figure out why I had my bow in my hand. So the like dog masters will sometimes take your weapon. So that's my weapon right there.
Oh.
So you gotta like run back and pick it up.
I'm a big fan of utility. I think it's like, it's so boring when all a game is comes down to just doing damage and healing damage. I love it when there's something that really actually affects people, like a crowd control, or a utility thing like disarm, or a grapple.
Well, what's pretty
flying.
cool about the way the melee works in this game, you see on the right-hand side, just like at the bottom corner there, it says ×2.
Yeah.
So that means that that's my combo multiplier, and every 20 hits you make on an enemy, your multiplier goes up. And then you can use this, which is your heavy attack. Happens very slowly, but it will be multiplied by that multiplier. So sometimes you can get your multiplier up to like a ×6 and then hit someone with this heavy strike and it just wallops them.
Oh, that's wicked.
But you can also do this heavy strike. Now, this is where I find the game gets weird. So this is me doing a ground strike, and then this is me doing a heavy ground strike.
Okay.
You could, like, so it doesn't make the ground color change, that one does. That's the only visual difference. So the difference is one of them is just a ground strike that'll knock people back, and it won't reset your multiplier. The other one will consume your whole multiplier. So there is a difference, but when you first play the game, it's like, why are these moves identical?
This is one of those games where I understand why when people look at it, they're like, what am I looking at?
Because there's so much going on.
There's a lot. I don't even know where your health is.
Top right-hand corner. So
Rhino?
So, yeah, just above where it says Rhino, because that's the character name.
Oh, okay.
And Rhino is always one of my buddy's favorites. Shout out to Jordan.
Yeah, Jordan.
Part of the reason that he loved Rhino is so he has this iron skin, which gives you a shield, and the shield is cool, but also while the shield is maintained, you can't be knocked down. So that's massive, right? Like, to avoid hindrances.
Yeah.
He also can do this. And just send people flying.
I was like, what happened?
Yeah. Ooh.
It's like, you want to see my ability? You want to see me do it again? How many moves are there? There's simply not enough buttons on the controller.
So it's R is to use your moves, and so it's R plus X, R plus Y, or R plus triangle, R plus circle. So that's how they.
What does hard R do?
Hard R will just repeat whatever you did, but I caught that.
Yeah,
I did catch that.
It'll just affect your book deals.
Yeah, seriously, might get you in trouble on Twitter.
I was considering just like getting it all out there, like just making a video where I just say every word,
Bad word.
every single, like I even like encourage people to like
Send you bad words.
yeah,
Okay.
because I'm sure there's one you've never heard of. There's probably many you've never heard of, because slurs are all specific to the individuals involved, not just the people you're talking about.
Well, look at Nerf Herder.
But they all
That's our word.
I've never even heard of that.
It's Star Wars.
Oh.
Nerf Herder is a Star Wars insult, and so there's like an episode of Family Guy where Lois calls Peter that, and he freaks out. He's like, "That's our word! How dare you!"
But it's also from who it's coming from, right? Because there's different derogatory expressions based on who it comes from.
And I think Community actually hit that one like nail on the head.
Yeah.
When so if Jerry Seinfeld said like, "Yeah, I'm a Jew," you'd be like, "Okay, yeah, he's a Jewish guy." But then when Pierce is like, yeah, and then we got the Jew over here. Like,
Yeah.
oh boy, same 3 letters, totally different meaning.
Yeah, I think people are like really starting to get the importance of context, and I understand that there's like every day there's like a fucking 50 goddamn stories about somebody who doesn't, but the problem with that is, you know, we can say there's like billions of people in the world, but let's just like even dial it in to just like Canada, you know, 32, 35 million people.
Somewhere in that neighborhood.
In
yeah.
a group that large, that it is impossible to not have somebody with a different opinion from someone else's. Like, there's nothing 30-something million people are going to agree on.
Correct.
Which means that someone in there is offended, and maybe they have a point. But there's definitely a person in there that's offended and doesn't have a point. So when there's a
by law of large
like,
numbers, yeah.
Yeah, like when it's like, oh, a store owner fired her employees because they did something totally reasonable to an unreasonable person, and then they vowed never to allow racism to exist in the world again. It's like, that's not a fucking story. That's just like, and then today somebody said a thing. Like, fucking, yeah, of course they did. There are people who think that this video game is gonna lead to fucking real violence.
Well, Triple X had the best take on it, because at the beginning of Triple X, the guy whose car he destroys, is because that guy wants to ban violent video games because of the effect they're having on children, and he's just like a general all-around prick. And so he's like, you can't take away the video games, dick. They're the only education we got. It's such a great line. That movie was so whimsical. Holy, I really wish they didn't make a second one.
I love when Danny Trejo's there, and he's like, that smells like real blood.
Yeah. Well, see how funny you are without your nose, funny guy.
Funny guy.
I love Danny Trejo, man.
So it's so funny to me, this fucking trend, which I think I made fun of it before it was becoming a real thing, and I couldn't believe it would ever become a real thing. Getting upset at people for not being what they pretend to be in a movie. Like, how fucking close-minded are you that you've forgotten that's what they do?
Yeah, where it's like you didn't hire a gay guy to play a gay guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, there were people who got mad at Bryan Cranston for not being disabled for the upside.
Wait, the upside?
Yeah, he's a quadriplegic in the upside.
Oh my god. Were they also pissed that he wasn't actually had cancer in Breaking Bad?
I'm sure. I'm sure. It's like, you're not allowed to wear that hat, Brian. I know you don't wear that hat in real life. It's like, it's not real life.
Holy
not even
crap.
reality is real life anymore. It's all wacky. It's upside down, brother.
Yeah, it's goofy.
It's ridiculous.
Certainly goofy.
It's so funny that anyone thinks that, like, they have a leg to stand on by saying that you have to be what you are on screen. It's like, what?
Well, oh man, I can't remember what it was, but there was a reference to that in BoJack that was like just absolutely priceless. It was like some sort of animal that was playing. Oh yes, that's it. That was it. It was a zebra, a black zebra with white stripes playing a white zebra with black stripes.
Oh no!
And everyone was mad.
Oh, I think it's like, this is like the really like base observation, not based, sorry.
Basic?
Because I actually couldn't tell you what that means. I keep seeing that word everywhere, but I just,
changes.
Like, haven't bothered looking into what it means. But what I mean is like the basic observation of, it's just like the really obvious observation that everyone's gonna make. Is that people really are running out of things to complain about, so they're fabricating the importance of things. But I don't think that's far off. I think that if you're, let's say you love puzzles, but you're not allowed to do puzzles anymore, and then someone's like, hey, I gotta organize this storage room, right? You're gonna treat that like a puzzle.
That's your new puzzle.
Because you're so into puzzles, and that's a good thing. Like, some of the most talented people in the world have turned what they love into a thing that they can do and benefit themselves and others, and it's really awesome.
Well, just on that note, you mentioned like how we don't have anything to complain about anymore. We had a dinner with both sets of grandparents the other day.
Yeah.
And so both the grandmothers are sitting at the table, and I said, you know what? I think what we need, because they were talking about how people always used to mend things like back in the day, and and I said, I think we need another Great Depression to teach everybody, the value of like keeping your stuff and the waste not, want not. And both of them, without skipping a beat, went, "Yup." Like not even no caveats, just like, yes, you're right. That's what we need. And it was funny because they both grew up in the 30s, so they know firsthand like how bad it was, but they also know that there's silver linings.
No, they didn't grow up in the 30s.
Well, they're born in 34 or 35. So I guess they didn't really grow up in the 30s, right? They probably grew up more in the 40s.
Yeah. That's like saying like that because I was born in 92 that no, that's okay.
Well, you grew up, because like I guess I grew up more in the 2000s than I did the 90s, right?
Yeah.
So I was born in 94.
And I would argue that as a young person, as like a kid less than 8, I wasn't really aware of the world in the 90s.
We just knew about light up shoes and plastic trays, like there were certain things, Tamagotchis and
Plastic was the best.
Dude, you remember? I don't know if this was maybe just a unique experience to me, but I got a Tamagotchi and I didn't know that, or no, this was both of us. Anyways, you were supposed to like when it went to sleep, you were supposed to turn the lights out so that it could sleep. And we didn't know that. It started sleeping and we were like, all right, well, it's asleep. We would go to bed and it would die overnight because we didn't turn the lights out. So we killed multiple Tamagotchis that way.
That's a perfect example. Like, there are video games about dealing with things you would never want to deal with as a human being.
Right, like taking care of a child.
Right. Or, taking care of a pet that doesn't do anything for you.
Doesn't even give you affection.
Or a game about like surviving in the world after the world explodes. Like it's like stuff you would never really want to experience, but we choose to watch it or play it because we're looking to problem solve without any problems around us, right?
Well, imagine a game that was about like surviving an apocalypse, but there was no fighting. It was just like go out and gather your berries and like ration your food.
There is.
You know what? I got halfway through that sentence and I realized that you were right.
Many actually, but
probably a game like that.
There's a game called This War of Mine, which is
This Little War of Mine.
Not really. I'm gonna let it shine. It's not designed for you to be successful. It's terrible. It's like bad. You have to make decisions where it's really just a better option, but none of them are good.
Yeah, least bad options.
Yeah. And it's like trusting people, and there's a game called Papers, Please, a very popular game called Papers, Please.
Excuse me?
Which is about being a border control guy in like a fictional country.
That's fucking dark.
And you can fuck up hard. So the basics, I don't actually know, I haven't played the game, but the basics are a person comes up to the border. You get their documentation, which I think is like inconsistent. Like they don't always give you the same types of documents. And then you have to compare things, like look at their license versus their, the deed of their home or something, and like see if they're up to no good. And you can fuck it up, and the wrong people get through and like bomb the country that you're protecting, and
it's so high stress.
It's terrible. And yet
I just want to unwind and review people's passports.
But people love that. Like they want something interesting, because some people can play this. Like they can play this endless number explosions with bright colors, and it works for them. But some people need something more visceral, something that like the ideas stick with them for a long time. I'm playing New Vegas right now. One of my favorite things about the game is the people and like finding out weird shit. Like when we were kids, I never played that game looking to talk to people. Like people were in my way essentially. I was just like, I need to talk to them quickly so I can get back to shooting people. Whereas now I go to everybody and I'm like, what can you tell me about this town?
Mm-hmm.
And they'll tell you some wacky shit and you're like, how did I miss this? Like, how was I not interested in, like, you know, the commander is actually cheating on his wife with, like, the person who runs the camp that's actually their enemy, and now you have to make a decision about who gets your support, and it will dramatically affect a whole section of the map. It's like, that's way more interesting than, well, I shot a guy with a revolver, and then I shot a guy with a shotgun.
It's true, and it adds... I mean, it all depends, I think, what you're looking for, because sometimes I'm just looking for the tactile response, and other times it is about a story.
Yeah.
And that's the thing about this game is there is a storyline you can follow, for sure, but the reality is that the vast majority of the game is doing what I'm doing now. Like, I'm sure you're wondering why I'm basically going around in circles.
I wasn't going to ask about it.
This is a survival mission. You see the time on the side? So the only goal is to go for as long as possible, which is very boring in the long run because, you know, all I'm doing is mucking the same enemies. But you've probably noticed the enemies are getting more substantial. So you're not getting any of the small cleaver guys anymore. People are taking more than one shot to actually die. You see more enemies come in that have auras, like they've got a big like crystal shape surrounding them. Some enemies will start to show up that can actually suck your energy away, and they're super deadly.
Dude, that's not even fiction. That's real people.
Yes, people that suck your energy.
Sometimes all you want to do is sit there with your crystal aura and be happy, and someone comes along and it's just like, oh, can I take your good mood and just suck it?
Yeah, I'm gonna suck your energy, bro. Oh my god, that reminds me of The Office. You take out your suck it and you suck it.
I don't know, I've never seen that.
It's like David Wallace gets fired from Dunder Mifflin, so he invents this tool called the Suck It that's supposed to help kids clean up their toys by like vacuuming them up. And then he sells it to the military, makes a shitload of money, and buys Dunder Mifflin back. Such a great show, man. It's so silly.
So I guess the government had some sort of... Wow.
Oh yeah, and when you get certain enemies down to a threshold amount, you can execute them. And the executions don't work that well. They're like really janky. Some of them don't actually, like, you don't even touch the guy. He just dies.
It's a free-to-play game.
Yeah. So, okay, now that things are starting to get more intense, like you can see, so this guy's actually, I have to wail on him. And so at a certain point, it's like difficult to get in there and wail on him without everybody else killing you.
You know what these wacky bald guys remind me of?
What?
Dune.
Oh, interesting, the movie.
Yeah. You haven't seen Dune?
No, I should.
The armor design it reminds me of Dune.
Oh, okay.
It's so good.
Yeah, so you can see more of these frost guys showing up.
I know you haven't seen it, but I love that they set out to make what is that, 2.5 hour part 1.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah.
Man.
Apparently the books are wacky. And wackier than anything we've seen in the movies.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right, now I ran out of life support, so now I'm going to show you the fun part. So this is the Warframe I'm driving, right? But inside the Warframe is an operator, and that operator has powers of his own. So I can actually leave the Warframe and blast everybody with my giant laser.
Chest lasers?
Chest laser, yes. It just destroys people. And then this is always fun when you have like and then I'm back to my Warframe. You see that little circle in the bottom right-hand corner next to my energy? Yeah, once that's full, you can go full operator.
That's bizarre.
Yeah. So now that my life support's 0, my health slowly ticks down. See it in the top right? It'll go down like 5 at a time. And
so your health is the red.
The red, yeah, and then the blue is my shield.
So
usually your health will tick all the way down until it gets to a critical point, and then it'll just stay there. But you can see the time's frozen now because I ran out of life support. So in the so every 5 minutes you get a reward, and in the early 5, 10, 15 you get shittier rewards, and as time goes on you get better and better ones.
Okay, very good.
Yeah, I mean, it makes also more sense when you're playing with a team because other people can be trying to gain life support, and you know, I'm just a lone wolf. I don't know how to participate with others, man.
All right, next time we'll continue being a lone wolf, which is an interesting thing that we ignore.
Even though wolves, don't do that.
They don't do that, and a lone wolf is not a successful wolf.
Usually dies, yeah.
Yeah.
So sorry, we're doing episodes, not one big one?
Oh!
Yeah, one continuous form.
Right!
Yeah.
We're doing that now.
Yeah, we are.
I forgot about that.
So we're not going anywhere. We'll be right back. I don't know why that came to mind.
Okay, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
That was my idea.
That's all good. So, I just wanted to show you how the weapons work. So you get a weapon, and then you have to rank that weapon up. So you see how this weapon's rank 30. And once you get to rank 30, you have like 30 points that you can put mods on. So I got like extra damage, extra beam length, and stuff like that. But then you can add something that doubles the mod capacity. So this one has 60.
Oh.
So basically, when you get a weapon, you have to rank it up to 30, then apply this thing that doubles its capacity, then the weapon is ready to be used at the higher levels. Otherwise, it's just not strong enough because you can't get enough mods to make it worthwhile.
You know, people are always going on about like removing toxins from their body.
Yeah.
But they never do anything about blast.
Removing blast from the body?
Or magnetic.
Oh, I see you picked up on that, eh? I got toxin and blast damage.
Yeah. This is actually a really hack improv move where I'm just looking for words
and just throwing them out there.
And I'm just like, noise?
Silent.
More like...
Notice it's silent, but also very deadly. So the reason I love this bow too, I've got a 100% increase in crit chance, and I've got a 100% crit chance. That's part of why it hits so hard.
That shit was so fucking wacky in World of Warcraft. Like certain classes were like crit chance, crit damage, crit, and it was like a guy with like a dagger that was like an eighth of yours, but he critted so fucking hard on you. And then like, oh, and when he crits, he also fucking makes you slow and bleed.
Yeah, man, the rogues were nutty. Like, super nutty.
What always bothered me about that game, wow, that was a hardcore about. I didn't mean to say that.
Yeah, you went full Canadian there. You booted it.
What I was fucking always got my goat there about fucking World of Warcraft, was fucking these rogues had to be behind you, but there was no unit collision.
So you could walk through people.
So I would watch guys play rogues where they would just zip through a guy and then spin the camera like a maniac, and I'm like, what am I watching? What happened there? Oh, I backstabbed. I was like, back.
Exactly.
Were you on his back? I don't understand. Like, you can make your character flip 180 degrees in no time. Exactly how can you design fairly and balance out a thing based on the direction someone's looking? Like in Siege, there was flashbangs, and they were less effective when you looked away from them.
Mm-hmm.
But people on PC could just flip the thing like that. So then they started getting all finicky with the effectiveness of flashbangs, and they're like, fuck it. They just get you no matter what.
Oh, so that it was a little more consistent.
Yeah, I remember them doing something about that, because there was a time where flashbangs like basically didn't like, you never knew if they worked. And so they gave you 3 of them, which is probably to balance out the fact that they didn't work. And so you would often find people throw all 3 into the same room and
hoping for the best.
Still not fully like still expecting it not to have worked.
Yeah, no, that's always a tough balance too when you have multiple platforms. Like I told you, I just started playing Pokemon Unite, and apparently you can play it on PC, but you have to play it through an emulator, which just incurs all these questions in my mind. And it's also weird because people who play on mobile, people who play on PC, or not PC, people who play on their phones, and people who play on the Switch are all put together. So to me, that seems a little weird to give someone a controller and someone else a phone screen and say that it's all the same. Sorry, I just realized I don't think there's actually enemies here. Because they have this whole railjack thing where you get your own ship and you have to fight people in ship battles. But yeah, I think I chose the one that doesn't have any enemies. So oops, that's my bad.
This is really wicked though. Like it's pretty rare to have like an animation on screen that connects you. How do I say that? When you're playing in a ship, I always feel disconnected from the ship. I don't
Usually.
I don't feel like I'm actually in it. And that animation with the guy like in the front like really like sells it. It makes you feel like you're actually in that
controlling it.
in that space, yeah.
Yeah, no, that is true. So hang on. Let's see. Yeah, okay.
Strata relay.
So this one will actually work.
Silver straight.
So the relays are pretty cool because they are where people can meet to trade, and they're also where you find like most of the NPCs that you'll need to trade with or do missions. But they're a little different from planet to planet, so you have to go to certain planets to find certain things. And then there's also certain completely open world places you can go to, where like all the enemies are just there, and it's not like the missions we just did. Okay, here we go. Here's some actual enemies. I've tried this mission 4 times. I've failed every time, so don't expect much.
I completely managed my expectations for coming in here.
Good, good. Assume you'll be disappointed.
I make that sound like we came into the Bros Play studio.
I know. Hey, it's a bit of a studio.
I mean, it's getting there.
Hey man, if I walk in and this microphone's set up, that means it's a studio.
Yeah. I mean, we're only 6 years into it.
Yeah.
So you can't expect it to be.
You can't expect it to be perfect yet.
You can't expect anything from it, really.
Yeah. The other thing is that there are gunner positions and other things that other frames could do if they were with you, like if you had a team.
Cool.
But because I don't, I only get my main guns.
Oh.
And that's my biggest issue with the game is I'm a lone wolf. So I just kind of want to play on my own and blast some people, and I'm not necessarily going to be on for very long, so I don't get that benefit of bringing people with me, like even for defense missions and stuff like that.
That's tough.
But
multiplayer, I don't really care for it anymore. It's the best and worst thing about a multiplayer game is the people.
Yeah.
I played with people in Back 4 Blood because it doesn't adjust for the number of people in the... Or does it? I can't remember now.
Oh, shit.
I forget how that goes.
Sorry, which
But
one?
they set it up really poorly where you couldn't play the game on your own with NPCs unless you match made and they just didn't get you a match.
Ooh, boy.
But then even then, players could show up. But then I found that when I was playing an offline game where I kind of glitched it and got my NPCs, it was boring because the NPCs are way too on it. So it was like the more fun option was to play with strangers.
Shitty people.
But they were also shitheads. So it was just this mix where like you've been downed and you require someone to pick you up and they're just looking at you and they're just not helping you and it only benefits them to do so and they're still not helping you and it's like ugh.
Yeah.
Like
man.
people in Left 4 Dead like got it. They figured it out.
Left 4 Dead, holy crap, was that fun. It was so simple, so straightforward.
It was simple. It was effective. They did everything well that they attempted and didn't push too hard to do something that they weren't going to do right. And you want to hear like a great Left 4 Dead dunking story?
Sure.
So they really pushed the idea that like they really were trying to sell Back 4 Blood as a spiritual successor to Left 4 Dead because it has the creators, which is technically true. Because 2 of the guys that run Turtle Rock were part of the actual idea, because Left 4 Dead came from a Counter-Strike mod, and then Valve hired those 2 guys to actually make Left 4 Dead, but then they also juiced up the development team with more Valve employees, and then Left 4 Dead 2 was like even a tremendous like more amount of Valve employees, because Valve only does like Valve doesn't just pump out a game every 6 months. If they're gonna do it, they're gonna do it right. So when they were selling Back 4 Blood, they were like, from the creators of Left 4 Dead, and it's like, well, it's technically true, but like lawyer speak kind of true.
Well, and it's also just because it's from the creators doesn't mean it's related at all.
Right.
Right, because there's lots of movies where it's like from the director that brought you this, and it's not.
It also doesn't
like
mean
game.
that the creators were necessarily why it was a good game. Like they came up with the idea, really, really solid idea, but it was more likely that it was the boys and girls from Valve that actually made it the great game. And so when Back 4 Blood came out, and it kind of, I think it did okay. I don't know. I didn't hear much about it. And Valve released the first piece of DLC in like 15 years for Left 4 Dead 2.
No way.
Just to be like,
in 15 years. Holy
hey,
crap.
boys.
That's crazy.
We didn't forget about you.
We do still exist.
I don't remember what they did, but it was like, it was enough to be a statement from them.
God.
Which means that it was actually, like, it actually made more sense to then play Left 4 Dead 2 again, because now there was actually new stuff.
New content, yeah.
I don't know if there was maps. I think it was just items. Because I saw a great meme that was like, when you boot up Left 4 Dead 2 for the first time in 15 years, and the dude's just like hyperventilating.
Yeah, and Left 4 Dead 2 is a great example of a sequel because it improved on things that the game needed, and it didn't try to go in a unique or different direction just because.
On PC, it came with all of the original characters and levels for free, but in the new game's, I don't know if the engine changed, but like it was in the new game's setup. So like the animations were better, and they had the new special infected and all that stuff. Crobecat has a great video about why Left 4 Dead 2 is so good, and why it's so much better than Back 4 Blood, and why they missed the mark, and because they didn't understand what it was that made it so good.
Mm-hmm.
One of the really small details, it's a small detail from the player's perspective, but a massive development feature was the common infected in the Left 4 Dead games have more than 100 different animations for dying.
Really?
Yeah.
Which is why it seems fresh.
So you can kill like 15 in a row, and every one of them will do a different thing. It's pretty wicked.
And after, I feel like after 100, your brain is not going to be able to track how they died, right? So you wouldn't even notice that difference.
When there was also like animation-assisted ragdoll, so sometimes it even did its own thing there. It's fucking wacky. Also, the special infected were so well done. They were designed like MOBA characters, you know? They had a role. And that's partially because there was a multiplayer aspect to Left 4 Dead, where you could play as the infected against the survivors. So the boomer attracts people and distracts people, but it's super weak. The spitter doesn't do a lot unless you're like in a really good like a really tight quarter. The jockey only partially moves you around, so he's like he's really good when you like synergize with another infected,
or if people are near edges.
Yeah, and then all of the infected, except for the tank, can only really do something to one of you at a time.
Yeah,
like except for the spitter, I guess. But like the smoker is just stuck still once he's grabbed somebody. He's completely vulnerable once he starts that. Same thing with the hunter.
Yeah,
these are just really like delicate balancing moves.
What I liked is that they managed to add new specials without fundamentally changing the game or even invalidating the old specials. Because the Charger, I would say, he was the closest thing to breaking the existing style, just because he pulled you so far away from the team.
Yeah, well, that's the whole point, though, right?
My favorite, though, was anytime, the first mission where you have to climb down that hotel, if the Charger was in the right spot, he could grab you and charge you. Oh, sorry, I don't know why I'm pausing. Charge you like 40 feet off the edge of the building, like a missile, just whee! So that was always fun when someone knew what they were doing.
That's the best, man.
Yeah, and I enjoyed that they did a really good job with how to clamber on buildings and stuff. Like they had these little like special paths that zombies could climb and humans couldn't.
Yep.
Yeah. It brings me back. That was some of the most fun online play we had, because when we played League of Legends, we had lots of fun, but we also got real big mad. Like super mad.
Yeah.
Right? And it was sometimes mad because things were not done well. Like you felt like, okay, this is a shitty way to design your game. Sometimes it was your teammates just basically screwing you.
Yeah.
And other times it was just being bitter that you lost.
Yeah.
But it didn't really get that in Left 4 Dead. It was almost always fun, right? There was a very, very rare moments where we would say like, oh, that was bullshit, or that was stupid, or I didn't enjoy that. You know?
Well, it's because, actually, and I'm going to transition this into how we design our roads. Where's he going with this?
Do it, brother. Give the MTO shit.
So, they figured out in playtesting that experienced players were leaving others behind, and they had to figure out a way to encourage people to stay together without being a bunch of assholes.
And just requiring
and just being like, oh, you can't be more than 30 feet from your friends.
The screen won't move.
Yeah. That's funny that you say that. That's actually a really lazy way to keep people together. Well, no, it's lazy.
Well, it depends what
Because
kind of a game you are.
I've played games where you're on the same screen when you're close enough, and then once you walk away, it actually splits the screen into two.
Oh, that's wild.
Yeah.
Sounds like you might get. I would get motion sickness if it kept switching back and forth.
Yeah, it was all right, but I actually don't even remember what game that was. I just have this vivid memory of it. Maybe I made it up. But they encouraged behavior through their design rather than just creating this hard limit of like just don't do it. Like, just stay with people, all right? Don't be an asshole. Like instead, they designed it so that you're just encouraged to do it whether you're an asshole or not. If you're an experienced player, you have to stick with your friends because
Hunter will still get you.
Yeah, a hunter or a smoker is just gonna kind of sneak up on you, and if more than one special comes at you at once, is like a really low chance of not getting incapacitated by them. And it's kind of like how our ideas towards designing roads versus how they do it in Europe, where in Europe they design the road to encourage the behavior they want. If they want you to go slow, they make the road narrower and line it with objects that give you the perspective of how quickly you're actually moving. Have you ever noticed if you're on a 400 series highway and it's like a 3-lane highway with like 50 feet on either side before the tree line starts?
Yeah.
You don't feel like you're going 100 kilometers an hour.
That is true.
But if you just turn to your left and see how quickly the ground is moving past you, you're motoring.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's why I actually think the concrete barriers are not as good as the older style guardrails. Because the older style guardrails had vertical posts. And when you went by them, those vertical posts would blur together into one solid post because you're going so fast. But now the modern ones are just solid concrete, right?
The solid concrete is...
safer, I'm sure.
Yes. It's the angle of the lower... it's got two angles.
Yeah.
The high one is to stop the body of your vehicle, and the low one is to cause your wheel... is to make your wheel go like straight up and then bounce the body of the off the concrete to what's it called, disperse the impact and reduce speed.
And that makes sense.
So when you hit one of those, it's supposed to make you like, it's supposed to like divert the energy of your vehicle so that you don't continue at that speed as you bounce off of them.
Yeah.
It's actually really wicked. The rails, too, that we have, the new rails that we have, guide the rail under your vehicle if you ever were to hit it, like, straight on.
The rails do?
Yeah.
Really?
You'll see them now. The rail goes down to the ground, and then it's got this big honking piece of metal in front of it, or, like, around it. And it's like a guide. So that, because what was happening was rails were killing people more often than they were saving them, because the rail would actually come up into your vehicle.
And so I was just going to say there was actually this big scandal in Ontario where they had designed the older style ones where the end of the rail was just kind of half bent over and then they put like a collar on it. And the idea was because it's half bent over, when the vehicle hits it, it'll just bend over all the way and it won't spear into your car.
Yeah.
And they ended up finding that they were straight up useless after they'd installed like $50 million worth of them.
Oh, well, maybe I'm wrong then. Maybe the ones I'm seeing are the dangerous ones.
They could be. They might be starting like to replace them, but I know that was a big deal where it was like, hey, we got this revolutionary technology and then we're going to sign all these contracts and then discover that it doesn't work. Same with our license plates, right?
Are you telling me that government-funded official MTO stuff was not done well because of the amount of money that was being involved. That's crazy.
What?
I don't believe that.
No, that could never happen.
Not in Ontario.
No, of course
not. In the province with half of the fucking people in the country.
Yeah,
never.
It's not like our province's new slogan is open for business or anything like that.
Anyway, the only thing that we do that I've noticed that's really good for encouraging the behavior you're after is traffic calmed neighborhoods, because they design them so that you don't benefit by going through them. They only bog you down by trying to zip through a neighborhood.
Slowdowns and bumps and stuff like that.
Well, that too, but they also don't come out anywhere else. Like, you'll go into the neighborhood and you can't get across the city through that neighborhood. It like stops you, and then you have to basically just come back out of the neighborhood and then continue where you were going.
Yeah, and I'm very supportive of that idea as well, that, you know, major subdivisions shouldn't have, like, they should have a thoroughfare that goes all the way through.
Yes.
And then branch streets that are all either dead ends or crescents.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
Well, and I've noticed, so we were talking the other day about how, you know, we're pretty picky when it comes to where we want to live. Like, we would not want to live on a main road where you'd have to constantly, like, get in and out of your driveway in, like, rush hour traffic.
Where we're moving, we won't need any roads.
So we were just, you know, we were kind of thinking about, like, you know, is that too picky? And then I just thought, no. In one end of town, like in the northern end of our town, they have a bunch of houses that are built on major roads that have literal thousands and thousands of cars a day. And then in the other end of town, we have similar volume roads where instead of the houses all facing the road, they face away from the road and are actually fronted onto these smaller streets.
Right.
So their backyard faces the main road. And like, as much as it's going to be loud at their house because they're going to hear all that traffic noise, I'd much rather that. I would much rather pull out onto a calm road and then get, like, you know, go through an intersection to get to the actual main road. To me, that seems like a no-brainer, but it's tough because developers all get to make their own choices.
Yeah, I don't know if developers make choices. It's like the joke that we would make where it's like, oh, they designed it.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes I don't know if they designed it. Like, we're living in a construction zone all summer, and I have not seen an effectively managed setup once.
Yeah,
I've never, like, I would be fucking biting my nails if I was in charge of this bullshit over here
and legally liable for
I
it.
saw like how it was being done. Like,
exactly.
There are 3 entrances to this apartment complex's parking lot. 3, and they've now shut down 2 of them for the construction that aren't even close to each other, and then just left it. So now there's 1.
It's only one entrance.
Pretty sure you're required to have 2 in Ontario. Maybe it's just 1.
Entrances?
Yeah.
No, you can get away with 1.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, there's too many people for 1. In an emergency, it would be tragedy. And on top of that, it's also not clear where the entrances are, and I live here. And I'm still not familiar with it.
I know, right? I do love the board out front with the numbers spray painted onto it. It's pretty funny.
It's like the money that I'm certain that they put into it, and you couldn't print out some signs.
And that's one of those tough things where I guarantee you when the road's done, it's gonna be great. When it's done.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be great until
it's the temporary traffic control
until next summer when they're like, oh, we're gonna improve it again.
We're gonna rip it up again.
Just gonna keep ripping it up.
And that's why you always got to be careful. Like, people always want their roads fixed, but you got to remember you have to live through that.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just a snap of the fingers.
It's something I'm very cautious of in my apartment because I'm not in control of how it's dealt with.
Right.
Where, like, I won't necessarily bring something up right away unless I'm certain that it's going to be a problem, because it could be worse to deal with them fixing something than to
leave it.
And just fucking dealing with it. Which is why I want to get the fuck out of here and be in control of my life and my environment and be done with this
That's
bullshit.
where we're getting to. We want to be able to make changes to our living space. We want to not have someone that we share our yard with. We want to have a basement. You know, simple things like somewhere to store extra crap.
I want to find a busted ass mining era Ontario house in like a small town and just turn it into a nice modern home.
You could go to V-Town.
And do the V-Town and do the old renovation thing and put in a new kitchen and all that stuff.
I think it would be pretty cool. And then, you know, it's one of those challenges where you gotta kind of accept that that's gonna be your home for, you know, more than a decade if you're gonna put all that effort in.
Well, adding a new kitchen would increase the value too.
It would. It's just to walk away from it, it sucks in the soul, you know? Like, you put all this hard work into it.
It can, but I'm like, I've been a slouch my whole life, and now I'm not. I really enjoy doing hard work now. So I might kind of end up like Dad, where I enjoy making things more than I enjoy using the things I make.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is not a bad habit. It's actually a pretty good characteristic to be more interested in the work.
Well, it's better than being more interested in the product, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I just started a new job, and so I'm now in a new office. And I didn't realize how many little things there were that I had done to my previous working space. Just stuff like, hey, where am I going to hang my headphones?
Little
where am I going to... Right, and so one thing that I even found was just the bottom drawer of my desk would roll open on its own. And so I love electrical tape. It may be the most amazing thing in the world.
I can fix that for you too, but it would be harder than electrical tape.
Well, because I thought, yeah, I mean, I could have tried to change the track so that it was angled slightly differently or whatever, but all I did was just put 6 layers of electrical tape on the side of the drawer, so it just rubs up against the side of the cabinet.
That works too.
It just doesn't roll out.
It's most likely because the drawer bank isn't
flat,
level front to back.
Exactly, and I also don't know if the ground is level in my office, so, you know, all those things combined.
I'm gonna find out right now. I'm pretty sure that they call that true, but...
True meaning flat, like the...
Because there's level, plumb, and then there's got to be an expression for, like, front to back level, right?
I figured it would be level in all directions, like front, back, side, side.
But there's got to be, like, an expression for that, instead of saying front to back level.
That's a good question. Is there sub descriptions of the word level?
Expression. Sometimes YouTube's like, what's it called?
Google?
Google's like, what are you talking about? What do you mean?
Is this? No way. Oh, that is sick. I have been looking for this for a really long time. I've been trying to find this mod for a really long time, and you can only get it through a, like, 0.2% drop rate.
0.2?
0.2!
Wow, congratulations.
Woo! Yeah, thanks for joining me on the process, everybody.
All right.
That's fucking awesome. Yeah, well, you know what? I'm gonna go mod that up now. We're gonna add that.
Yeah.
We're gonna get the Guandao.
Okay.
Leveled up. And did you find it? What's level?
No,
Front and back level. It's gonna be very confused.
Okay, so I thought we were ending the episode.
Oh, no, sorry, I just took a tone.
Leveling front to back. Leveling caravan.
What?
Back wiping. What are you talking about?
I believe that's a potty training term.
All it's doing is telling me how to do it.
Huh.
What's it called?
Oh, shit. Got all that extra space.
I've been also wanting to fix these, the doors in this apartment. And I'm like, you guys don't deserve it.
You don't deserve the fix.
You don't deserve me fixing it for you.
Yeah.
So most of the doors, like most doors, it's funny. We actually got this door presentation at one of my jobs, and this dude was so into doors that we were all into doors by the end of the conversation.
Yeah.
And you picked me up that day. You were like, "There's a lot of commotion going on here," and I'm like, "Bro, let me tell you
about doors,
about the importance of hinge plates." Because what was the guy saying? It was something about how there's only a hinge plate on, like, one of the hinges in a door to save money.
Oh, you did mention this.
And so
it's
like that's
cheaper
why
that
most
way.
doors over time move, but not by enough for you to really be like, fuck that door.
I do remember that. You were really into the doors at that point.
Man, sometimes you just get like people get you excited, right? It's like
Yeah.
it's like it's one of my things that I love about listening to JRE
Yeah.
is that the people he has on there, he really lets them just explode on the microphone. Like
It's a unique passion
if
thing.
they just want to go off about black holes or front to back leveling a dishwasher, like you can get excited about either of those things. Like the other day, I swear I listened to 3 hours of Joe and a fighter I didn't know talk about fighters I didn't know, and it was really confusing. But
I can imagine.
kept listening because some of the craziest fucking stories about fighters and where they came from, and like I don't know who this one fighter was.
Do you remember the name at all?
What?
Do you remember the name at all? Like,
Can't tell if you're fucking with me. I don't remember the name of the fighter.
oh, okay.
I don't know who this guy is. Okay, but like, who is he? So
I thought you meant you didn't know like what sport he fought. Or
Oh
who
no,
he
I'm pretty
fought.
sure it's UFC.
Okay.
But Joe was explaining why he's just tough as nails, and like because it's like most people are fighting for their career, whereas this guy grew up fighting for his life. He lived in Cameroon, which I don't know anything about.
I think you're probably talking about Francis Ngannou then.
Maybe.
Yeah, because he grew up in.
Attempted to escape 6 or 7 times, and every time he got caught by the police, and they would then drop him off in the desert to die, and he kept coming back from the desert until he eventually escaped Cameroon.
Holy crap!
So like you're watching this guy in a little ring fighting another man with tiny boxing gloves. For most people, the biggest, scariest moment of your life. But that guy's experienced scary moments his whole life. And the only reason why he's in a country where he's allowed to fight people is because he survived 6 or 7 attempts on his life.
Jesus, and he probably wasn't that old when that happened.
No.
That's wild. And I'm pretty sure that he, when he was a kid, he worked at a sand mine.
Oh, jeez.
Right? And so you can imagine, like, the farm boy strength you kind of get from that being what you do. Yeah, that's wild.
There was also a guy where they were doing the stare down, and Joe's like, normally you'd be intimidated by the guy on the right, but the guy on the left has killed a man with a knife.
Yeah.
And like that's the look that he's giving him. There's no intimidation because to him, nothing they're going to do in the ring could ever be as bad as the things he's already seen and done.
But I also like how this shows how predictable Joe Rogan is.
Yeah.
Because I know exactly what you're talking about too. Because it was Vanderlei Silva who used to stare guys down and like break their nerves. And then he fought Mirko Krokop, and Krokop used to be Croatian Special Forces.
Right.
So he's like, might as well be FSB, right? He's like, stare at me all you want. I will kick you in the head. And then he did. He kicked him in the head.
It's a fascinating world that I'm not interested in. So hearing it from someone who is that into it, they're really only going to bring up the stuff that's important enough to talk about. And I try to remember that sometimes when I'm going off about shit that I don't care about. Or I do care about, and
that other people
don't.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, eventually, there's going to be someone who watches the show who's like, I also think that Ratchet & Clank is the best video game ever made, and nobody else agrees with me. And, like, listening to me talk about it on every single playthrough is a great thing for them.
If they want to hear it, yeah.
Like, it's funny when people talk about numbers on the subscriber count thing, because they never talk about the quality of the subscriber.
Whether they come back.
Because there really is that. That is a totally real thing. When I started on YouTube for serious, I was following the trends. And the people I got were atrocious. They're terrible people. And I'm not exaggerating. They were shitty human beings. I don't care that there was like an anonymity between me and them, and they don't fully understand it. Blah, 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 blah. No, fuck you. Like telling me you're gonna unsubscribe because I didn't do something you asked me to do the fucking day you asked me to do it is just unreasonable human behavior.
Yeah.
I don't really care that it's online or whatever that bullshit is. And then they also forget that the numbers aren't the same people. I'll hear people say, I have 5,000 subscribers and I shout it out to a guy who has 50,000, like as if that matters. And I'm like, it doesn't have to be the same 5,000 people. Like your 5,000 could be completely independent from that guy's 50,000. And so by the end of the day, you could have 55,000 subscribers. Like they're not necessarily a crossover. It's not like, oh well, I have a million followers, so I don't need anybody to help me out anymore. There's just lots of other people. There's a lot more than 1 million people in the world.
Big time. Yeah, and that's the weird thing about YouTube is that I feel like so much of it is, they give you all these metrics to track, but in a lot of ways, like the metrics are so much less important than you being kind of like a YouTube sycophant. You're popular on YouTube if you play the YouTube game. That's kind of how it goes.
I stopped giving a shit. I've of course I care about the numbers and the viewership, but I don't care to play the game. I want people to watch it because it's why I make it, but I don't need to be number one. In fact, I don't even need to be on a chart. Like, I don't even need to be high up enough to even be on a list. That doesn't. Yeah, I don't even want to be number one. Fuck that shit. There's only down. Once you become number one, you can really only just hold that position and just hope that your head start is enough to keep you at number one. I would never want to lose number one. That sounds awful.
Oh, I can see that. Yeah, like the idea of like that fall from grace, right?
Yeah.
But what I've never understood is certain things. Like I've never understood why certain channels are so obviously promoted by YouTube. And I don't mean by advertising. I just mean like they're clearly favored in the algorithm.
Oh, it's fucking Susan.
Like I watched
Susan.
Well, yeah. But I watched
Sorry, that was just
that was a red line.
It was obligatory.
I watched Seth Meyers for a little while when I first got on YouTube because they pushed the absolute shit out of his channel to everybody, including people who follow a bunch of people who hate him. It's like, that doesn't make any goddamn sense.
I've heard, I watch too many YouTube shorts now, and I was watching, it's funny, I had the same experience as this guy was talking about. I don't want to say who it was, but there was this guy that I don't like, and I never watched his stuff, and it just kept being promoted to me. And I was watching a short where this guy was like a different guy, goes, man, there's this guy I don't like, and it keeps fucking promoting it to me, and I never watch his stuff, and it just keeps fucking popping up, and I had the same experience.
Mm-hmm. And so that I find really strange, because that to me sort of screams, in my opinion, malpractice. And that's the wrong term, but like
Susan.
It seems it's not good faith. And that's what I always get really confused about, is like the rules are all based off good faith dealings, and then you're gonna advertise certain individuals for free. It seems really strange.
You never interrupt Susan.
You never interrupt Susan?
Really important thing.
Yeah? Okay. I haven't heard that rule.
She said that.
What?
Don't interrupt me.
In general?
Like, people don't interrupt me. I don't like that. Don't interrupt me.
Okay. Whatever you say, Susan. And it's just, yeah, I've gone a long time without watching his videos ever, and yet they still pop up in my feed.
I had this experience where I was having a hard time finding the reason to keep making stuff, because I wasn't enjoying what I saw on YouTube. It all bothered me, and I was like, all the successful stuff on here is just trash.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like a handful of people worth watching, and their numbers don't reflect the importance of them on the site for lots of reasons. And then I got back into Joe Rogan Experience after not watching it for like 5 years, and it would just kind of hit me where I was like, it doesn't, like, he was doing that the whole time that I wasn't watching, and he was doing it when I used to watch it and doing it now that I watch it again. And whether I was around for it had nothing to do with whether he was interested in making his content. So while I wasn't watching it, it didn't matter. And then when I got back into it, it did matter. And I was like, oh, the only thing that matters is the right now. Don't focus on the potential success or failure of the project. You do what you want to do because you want to do it, right? It's a really great story, the JRE experience story, that it's only successful because he just continuously did it because he was interested in doing it.
Yeah.
Like, he's got a great producer, that Jamie guy, that young Jamie.
Fuck. Yeah.
But lots of people have great producers. It's like, hard work is required for success, but hard work doesn't make success on its own.
He actually just had a quote about that.
Really?
Yeah, he said, hard work will beat talent when talent doesn't work hard.
I'm gonna have to think about that for a while. But yeah, it was like kind of, do they call it come to Jesus moment? Or do they?
Yeah, they do, yeah.
Oh, okay. It was like one of those moments where I was just like, I should only work on what I want to put into the world. And I should be happy for every person that wants to consume it. And that's it. That's the only reason I should focus on the work. I shouldn't do it because I go, well, you know, this game is new and so it's relevant and people will be into it, right? I tried that with Elden Ring, and that was like the closest I've ever got a video released to its release day, and that was like 4 weeks or something like that, or maybe even more than that. And it didn't fucking do anything. It didn't mean jack shit.
Yeah, it didn't move the needle.
I named my Star Wars video like the greatest Star Wars film ever made. I did the hyperbole thing. I did the fancy fucking thumbnail thing, and it didn't do jack shit. My fucking shorts of that video did better than anything I've ever made, and I did no work for the shorts.
Yeah.
I just clipped
They're digestible.
something right from my video. The highest viewed video now is like 5,500, and it's it's actually the Elden Ring a message short.
Oh God.
What I actually considered to be one of the least creative jokes that I had. Most successful video I've ever made.
That is how that goes, isn't it?
But it's like, I'm going to keep doing the shorts thing because it's really good for promotion. It's like basically free advertising, because I've done the advertising thing and it doesn't do jack
It doesn't
shit.
work, yeah.
It's like that whole quality over quantity thing. Like,
Yeah.
the Hitman video has like 1,100 views. So like 100 times what most Mitch shows get. But the audience retention is like 23%.
Oh.
So like basically pointless.
Jeez. So check out how they set up this universe, or the solar system rather.
Is it in your chakra?
So it all comes from Heart Center, I guess, or whatever. I didn't actually realize that leads like right to the center of his being. But anyways, you start on Earth. So almost all the Earth missions are low level, but then there's a couple around here that are high level. You have to come back later. And then there's the moon, which they call Lua.
Dua Lipa?
But these are all...
Tualua?
What?
Never mind.
Yeah, Tualua.
It was a Dua Lipa joke.
Yeah,
It didn't work out.
Tulua. And so the moon is actually all high level. You have to come back later once you finish missions. But it goes Earth, Venus, Mercury, and then that's the end. And then you have to go back this way. You go to Mars, and then Mars connects to like Deimos and Ceres and Phobos. And then from from Mars rather, you go to Ceres, and then to Jupiter, and then to Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto. Then you can get to Eris and Sedna. See how it shows like the little paths?
Oh.
So you got to go all the way around to Sedna, which is the highest level 1. And then you'll notice there's actually a bunch of different places that connect to the void. See all those 4 paths?
Cool.
So in the void, which is like, I'll do one now. These ones are like 30 to 35. These ones are 20 to 25. These ones are 10 to 15. And these ones are like 40 to 45.
Oh.
So it's kind of neat the way they've set up this whole solar system So you kind of travel around it circularly, and that way there's actually a progression. Like I'll show you.
That's pretty wicked, though. It's a nice. They captured it all on one screen, which is really cool.
Really cool. And then the zoom, because you can just zoom right out. Like I'll click a planet and it brings it up. But yeah, how satisfying is that, right?
That's the little things, man. That's.
And then so what you do with a planet, you have to work your way through to the other side, like through doing missions. And then there's a junction. And in order to do the junction, there will be a couple of like requirements. And then once you go into the junction, you have to battle another Warframe. So it's kind of neat that it has stages. It kind of feels like you're doing bosses as you go along. And some of the bosses, oh my God, some of the Warframes were unbelievably challenging to fight. It's actually why I got this Warframe, which you need a clan for. My clan like purchased the plans or whatever. So he's got this crazy shield, which is modular. So you see the number down there?
Yeah, that's increasing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it went up to like 300, 400, 500, and then it jumps up to 6,000. So the way it works is the first 2 seconds, whatever damage you take will affect how big the shield ends up being.
Cool.
So I've abused this guy because one guy did like 6,000 damage to me in 2 seconds, and I got a 25,000 damage shield. So it lasted forever.
Oh, so it increases the damage. So you actually want to get hit.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's what I was talking about earlier. But like, what I it's my caveman word for it was utility.
Right.
Like, you know, it's so boring to just be like shield, extra 10 health. Oh, it's exciting. I would rather it's like put the shield on, and if you take damage in the first 3 seconds, it adds a shield as a multiple of the amount that you got hit by. That's fucking interesting.
And so the goal is to try not to kill, like if there's a bunch of enemies around you, you need to not kill them for a second or two. Let them attack and then try to kill them.
Idea. I got that. I noticed that from Doom Eternal, where I was like, little enemies are intentional fodder so that you can use your chainsaw to get the ammo back, so that you can use your execute to get health back. Those little enemies in Doom are not there to harm you. They're there to help you.
Yeah.
But most people
I guess so.
Most people just like gamer brain it, or as Nikki Jakey would say, goopy goblin gamer brain, and just go like, enemy shoot. Whereas I was playing it and going like, God, I need health, and I'm running around and I can't find any small enemies because all of the big enemies are left and I can't execute them as easy. But then there's also the thing where it's like you can only execute an enemy at below a certain percentage of their health. So it's easier to get that execute on a bigger enemy because 20% of their health is bigger.
Yeah, you won't kill them accidentally.
Which is why I said in the mid show that you have to gently massage fodder enemies in order to be able to execute them.
Because you do have to be gentle.
Because like a shotgun explodes fodder enemies, and so you can't get anything out of them. Whereas like the machine gun, you can go like dip 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 dip,
and that's a gentle massage.
And the punch without an execute doesn't do anything. It's totally useless.
It doesn't have a damage?
It's just a punch.
Oh.
I think it might stagger.
Right.
And then there's the Marauder. What a fuck of a character. That's like a controversy. That's how unimportant the arguments have become. People the controversial thing about a game is that it has an enemy that's hard to fight because it doesn't let you just do whatever you want. Because it spawns, so it's like this centurion type of character, and he's got a shield, and he gets close to you while spawning dogs, and you can, if you shoot him from far away, he shields it and does nothing, and if he gets close to you, he'll attack you with his sword. So you want to wait for him to drop his shield, go for an attack, but hit him with a heavy weapon like a sawed-off shotgun, and then he gets staggered, and then you can do real damage to him. So you have to wait for his moves and kind of bait him into putting his guard down, similar to those guys in Zelda, the shield guys that Aaron Hansen hates.
Yeah.
Except like this is way more interesting. And cool and stuff.
It's also a lot more engaging.
Yes.
Like there's way more to it.
I would say the Marauders are a little too engaging, actually.
And that's where the controversy comes from?
Yes, of course.
I love that this thing pierces walls. I've figured out that this is capable of piercing a solid wall plus multiple enemies. It's pretty sweet. And my favorite is you can actually shoot through floors too. Like you see, you can shoot through almost anything.
There is nothing more satisfying than pinning an enemy to a wall.
I know. It really is.
You can do
good.
it in Dead Space.
I wish because one of the reasons I'm not pinning them to the wall is with crits they tend to explode. So otherwise they would.
And it was just fire.
There's this one weapon called the Bolter that my buddy Elsie used to love, and because it's all puncture damage, it can pin people to the wall, but it's an automatic weapon. So you pin like 6 guys in a row, like just painting the walls of people.
Shout out to Gears of War.
Yes.
The Bolter?
Yeah, the Bolter, for sure. And I don't think... Actually, you know what? You can get exploding crossbow bolts in this as well.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what the Bolter was? No,
it's the Bolt. That was the...
Boltok.
No.
Nope.
Torque bow.
Torque bow.
Yeah, because the Boltok was the revolver, and I love the Boltok.
They got FPS boost on the Xbox for Gears of War 3. It's pretty smooth.
FPS boost.
Yeah, buddy.
Interesting.
They got certain games that have been designed to run at 60 FPS through some sort of magic that they've figured out with the tech there. Digital Foundry did a great video about it. They're like one of the only people out there on YouTube who give a shit about game performance. It's bizarre. It's like there's so many people, so many gamers out there that care about it, but so few creators that give a shit. And they'll just give you this like, sorry, I got sidetracked. They did a great breakdown about how the FPS boost works, and it's essentially like tricking the game into believing it does have a lower frame rate, but somehow displaying a higher frame rate. It's really bizarre.
It is really bizarre.
But back to my shitting on other YouTubers. It bothers me so much when people don't act like there's a responsibility as a person who is reviewing something, especially if you call it review. If you put that word on there is a responsibility as a creator, especially if you have a large audience. And so I hate it when people downplay a serious issue, like whatever the hell was happening on the screen there. A couple people, I watched the reviews for a Lego Star Wars game, and it was just like nothing but positivity. And they were like, the game is easy. And then they just moved on. And then I played the game and I was like, the game's difficulty is a really big part of my issue with it, because it doesn't have one. It doesn't have fail states. It doesn't have the option to lose. So to say the game is easy is quite an understatement.
I'm just very disappointed with these enemies. They're supposed to last longer. But I tend to agree that you can't pretend that that's not a big deal.
Yeah, it's massive. And then I'll read that people are like, oh, well, they've never been difficult. And I go, oh, well, that's...
I guess so.
That's all right, but... that it's something that just wasn't described very well. They just moved on. And the problem is that there's no law that says you have to give out review copies. So, like in some cases, game developers put an embargo on reviews. And sometimes they'll make that embargo the day after it releases.
So what do you mean by an embargo?
Like
How could they possibly do that?
Like if you release a review of it, they'll take you to court.
I mean, that's not legal, but they can still do it, and you still have to fight it. So I guess that is a thing.
Yeah,
but
well, they are followed. Like the embargoes are respected.
And that's interesting because I'm actually really surprised by that, because that's technically not allowed, because a review is, not only does it fall under fair use, it actually falls under sort of like a historical exemption where, those have always been around. Reviews have always been a category of sort of legitimate content.
The problem is the laws always follow. They always trail human behavior. We never we never get out ahead of something. We have to wait for things to crumble before we're like, we need a law to stop this. So with the internet, you know, as far as I know, it's like there's still some really wacky copyright problems with the internet, like with revenge porn. I'm pretty sure you legally don't have to remove that to this day.
No, I don't think
in the
you
States
do.
you don't.
Yeah.
Somehow that one just hasn't been, nothing's been done about that, which is a really fucking serious
Well, it is.
conversation.
It is a serious conversation, but it's also a conversation I almost never hear people talking honestly about, because you have to accept the fact that you did put those pictures out into the world, and people want to pretend like it's possible to put the genie back in the bottle.
But they don't always put it out in the world, though. Like because people hack that stuff.
Well, and that's different, because that's not. I don't call that revenge, because revenge usually implies that the person was pissed at their other, right? And they said like, hey, you gave me these pictures while we were dating. Now we're not dating. Now I'm gonna put them online. That's where like the name, I guess, comes from. Because I mean, if you're talking about like, you know, leaked iPhone stuff, and like that's actually one of the reasons I don't have a lot of faith in Apple, is the fact that it auto saves all your shit to the cloud unless you specifically tell it not to. And then their cloud is clearly not very secure. But yeah, it's just tough, because you're all right. I mean, if someone takes it on their private phone and it gets hacked, that's a totally different ballgame. But if you've sent it to somebody once, I mean, we saw those commercials. You remember the one where like the girl posted a picture of herself in like a bikini or whatever at her school, and then she tries to take it down, and every time she rips it off the bulletin board, she hears a click, like a computer click, and a new one appears.
I've never seen that.
No? Oh, they ran it for years. It was like House Hippo and that. Side by side.
I don't know. That feels like it's going in a direction of victim blaming.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it all depends. It's just one of those like if you send naked photos to your boyfriend, let's say, and then you break up and he puts them out on the internet, it's like, well, what is the expectation of privacy when you send that to somebody? Right?
I think the expectation is that you don't share it with other people.
Yeah, well, I meant in a legal sense.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like from from the ground, like as a human being, clearly not intended for other people. And to say that, well, you put it in the world, so I guess you just get what you get, it just feels like it doesn't feel like the right response. Like I think that it's kind of like, you know, what happens with all relationships where, you know, like the fucking Amber Heard and Johnny thing,
Jesus,
right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, in that situation, that's two famous people putting their lives out in the world and being like, they're just airing their dirty laundry, and it's just like whose drawers have slightly less skid marks, but they're both out in the world. Like that's a decision that they made together, or sorry, separately rather. But they've chosen to go out and put that personal information out into the world. So now now it's like it's fucking it's famous information now, right? Whereas like sending something to one person and blaming that person for trusting somebody, especially when they're young, like an 18-year-old girl in high school or boy, they don't know shit. They haven't been fucked over enough to be cautious about things that they do in the world.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's right to just be like, well, I mean, you put it out there, man. I don't know.
Well, I just think it's
I don't know why I said I don't know. I do know.
You do know exactly why, yeah.
I'm quite certain that it's totally inappropriate, and I think the intent is a great word for it, because we can argue about like what happened, but we should also consider what was your intention with that. Like when you trick somebody, when you sell a PlayStation 5 box for $800 online, knowing that someone won't read it and will buy it thinking it's the PlayStation 5, but they got just the box.
Mm-hmm.
What was your intent there? Legally speaking, you're probably not wrong. You know, you can get away with that, legally speaking. But your intent was to fuck somebody over. That was your plan. That was your intention. Regardless of whether it's legal in whatever fucking place you live, you tried to be a douchebag and you got away with it. Congratulations.
Well, yeah, I guess it's that's always tough. Like, people do that a lot where they order something and the size is like, you know, it's 2 inches instead of like 10 feet. You know, like they buy a car and the car.
My job heavily relies around measurements being correct. And it bothers us a lot because not everybody in our industry or company is aware of the importance of measurements because they don't do it. They don't actually do the work, the physical work. So they don't see the difference between 33 inches and 33 and a half inches. Like, that could be a dramatic issue, that half inch. And one day we saw this advertisement because we were considering getting some furniture for this place. And this person wrote, apartment-sized couch. Do not ask for measurements.
Apartment size.
And so every comment was, I'm sorry, I didn't catch the height. What was the width of that? Sorry, what were the dimensions?
Oh my god.
Every single person just took the piss out of that. It was so funny. And the reaction was like, please stop asking me for the dimensions. It's like, you are so fucking up your, like, how sorry, I got a little excited there. How ignorant do you have to be to think that the only thing about a couch is not important information?
I know.
It's like, bottle of alcohol, don't ask for how much alcohol is in it. It's just a bottle.
Yeah, it's
club level alcohol.
Yeah.
It's like, no, it's important for us to, like, record stuff.
I can certify that it is alcohol.
It's certified
Yeah.
club level alcohol.
So you see these argon crystals over there?
Yes.
So they are a special resource which decay after 24 hours. Oh, maybe they changed it into... Oh, wow. So they must have changed that. So now they last 7 days versus 24 hours, which is a lot better.
Wow.
But still, so you, like, let's say you have something that requires 4 of them. You have to, like, get them all at the same time. You can't, right? You can't just slowly chip away. You got to go and... Yeah, and then this is where you build everything. I'm trying to see if I have any. Yeah, so here, this Chroma Systems requires 2 argon crystals. So I would have to, like, I have them, but if I put this game down for a week, I'd come back and I'd have to get them again.
I could never play a game that has mandatory time requirements for building things.
I know.
I could never get into
know.
it. That's just...
Well, and that's where they're trying to force the microtransactions, right? Like, oh, well, you just play a little bit of platinum and it'll go over immediately. Like, no big deal.
That bothers me to my soul.
Yeah.
To the core of me as a person.
To the very heart.
I just can't... Like, I always compare it to what I make. I don't make video games, but I make content that I want consumed, and I like to make money off of it. But, you know... I would prefer to charge $15 a month to watch my stuff than I would to make you pay $1 per minute. You know, it's like that would not be conducive to a good viewing experience.
Yeah,
it's like, I've only got $5. I'm gonna watch 5 minutes of mid show and then just stop there, and I'll be fine with that. Like that's not good for the creation.
And it's not good for audience retention either.
Even worse would be a sponsorship in the middle of a video with no correlation to the content of the video.
Oh, like, there's a lot of those.
Randomly. It's bad. It's really bad, actually. The downside to Joe Rogan being on Spotify now is that advertisements are independent to the video. They're actually in the app. It's an actual Spotify.
Yeah, but he usually does the vast majority of the ones I've heard.
It's him talking, yes.
Yeah.
But it's not...
They're actually within it instead of at the start like they used to be.
It's just totally random. It's not like, all right, now we should do ads. Like, I love how Super Mega does that. They'll go like, this is a good time for the ad break. And then that ad break is actually a separately recorded thing, an ad read.
Right. So they actually, yeah, because I don't like it when it just like is silence all of a sudden and you're wondering if your internet connection went out.
Well, it's so bizarre too because Joe doesn't talk like that normally. So it's just like out of nowhere, he's just like Alpha Brain.
Yeah, it is a little weird, and it does frustrate me personally as a Spotify premium user. Why am I paying premium to hear ads?
Yeah,
Doesn't make any sense to me, and I appreciate that there's no difference in watching JRE whether you're premium or not, like because it was always supposed to be free. That's cool. But I shouldn't have to listen to ads because I'm paying for your premium platform. So there's something that seems inconsistent to me.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't jive. But also Spotify's app always fucks up, and that pisses me off. And so
it's terrible.
It's a terrible app.
Spotify it's terrible. The whole thing is awful.
Yeah.
It feels like a friend that it feels like Norm Macdonald. You know what I'm talking about?
No.
You ever seen Norm Macdonald talk to people, like especially in like his later years?
Yeah.
He's hilarious.
He's
I
fucking
should say.
hilarious. I love
Norm is
Norm
one of my
Macdonald,
favorite
yeah.
comedians out there, and I'm saddened to have kind of discovered how much I like him after he passed. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
But he would talk like he would just say something to people, and they didn't understand why he was speaking to them that way, and it's just because he was fucking with them.
Yeah.
But like as an app. That's a bad...
No, you're right, actually. It is a very sarcastic and shitty app.
Yeah, it's
That's
just,
the point you're trying to make,
like,
yeah.
I have never been so discouraged from looking at new music. It just doesn't want to show you anything new. It shows you the last, like, 3 things I've looked at, and then just doesn't bother, like, encouraging me to watch other things. Beyond, like, the release radar, which is actually a great playlist. Like, the mixes are pretty good.
You notice to take magnetic damage from this river?
I'm not noticing a thing that's happening on screen right now. I don't recognize it. But anyway, yeah. Norm Macdonald told this stupid story. I think it was like Andy Dick he was talking to. He was like, yeah, I knew this lady with Alzheimer's, and she didn't know what her son looked like, and so I would put I would go and get like a dollar store frame, like a picture frame that comes with like the
little kid
like,
in it,
like a stock photograph of it, and I would just leave that on her porch and tell her that her son came by, and then the guest is like, so how does this help her? And he's like, help her? But he's like, the entire time he tells the story, he's got this little shit-eating grin, like he's so fucking excited to get to the end.
He's so proud of himself.
So happy about it, and that's what Spotify is. It's like, I don't know what you're talking about, bro. And it's like, how does that help me? And Spotify's like, help you?
Yeah, and just things like, it's just the other day I was talking to someone, and they're like, oh yeah, I tried to send you a message midday, but you must have missed it. And I said, no, I got it. Because anytime I pause my music, I can't just press play and it plays again, because the whole fucking player disappears. And then you got to redo the whole, and it's like, okay, now I got to go into the actual app, reopen it, tell it to play. Like, it's a mess. But at least it means I don't miss my messages, I suppose. Yeah.
I really like how, like somebody calls me while I'm listening to Spotify, and then they hang up, and then it just plays what I want to play again. That's great. But sometimes, I forgot where I was going with this.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't plan to end this whole thing by ragging on Spotify, but it just came up.
It bothers me so much, because it's like, if you're not going to pay your artist well, at least use that money to make the product good.
Do something, yeah. No, that's a good point.
If you're going to rob the people that I am trying to support, at least do something for me.
The only thing they've done that I really appreciated is they told all their staff to take a hike when they tried to revolt over Joe. That's the one thing that I can say, like, Spotify did well. And they made the right decision.
It's important that people stand up to outrage
culture,
cancel culture, violent, whatever you want to call it. Like, fucking Rose, well, I almost said Rosie O'Donnell. I mean, I guess I did say it now.
Rosa Parks?
No, Rosa Parks. No, Roseanne Barr is funny.
She is funny.
She shouldn't have a show canceled because she said a weird thing.
Well, especially because it's not just her career it affects.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't even close to, like, it wasn't even a good joke that she made that got her.
No, it's just some dumb tweet. Yeah.
And apparently she's doing stand up again, and she's like a fucking murderer.
Oh yeah.
Because I watched Joe, so now I only talk about funny people in gruesome,
violent terms.
Yeah, violent expressions. Fucking killer.
Yeah.
Absolutely murdered.
Yeah, he crushed everybody.
It just crushed. There, not a single person survived. Everyone was dead.
murdered. Yeah.
They were all dead.
Yeah, he murdered the whole crowd.
Yeah, which is funny because laughter is the exact opposite of dying.
That's so funny, yeah, because laughter's the best medicine. But
yeah. Murdering people is the best medicine.
Yeah, actually. Well, and I always find it funny. It's like, well, I mean, wouldn't those be mass murders, right? Because usually at least 300 people at an event.
Peters is one of the most successful mass
murderers of all time.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Kevin Hart too, man. Guy murders like 5 digits at once.
Dude, it's the Fell Reaver.
Kevin Hart is the Fell Reaver?
No, here, it's the fucking Fell Reaver.
Is that a significant thing for me to understand?
Yeah, the Fell Reaver from the Hellfire Peninsula.
Oh,
it's the Fell Reaver.
That sounded significant to World of Warcraft. This guy's got a tree branch arm. Oh, he's all wood.
Yeah, he's woody. He's
the all wood.
He's hard and wooden.
Oh, geez, Buzz.
But I'll be honest, I don't know much about the plains of Aiden where I am, but this is supposed to be like the open world place where you can see I've had people like level 12, level 16. This guy's level 50, and I assume you need some sort of special item to fight him. Or maybe you just gotta shoot him in the mouth. No. Oh no. Oh no. What's he doing? What's he doing? Someone's attacking him. Alright, well, we're gonna let them go to war, and we're gonna slink off into the night. This has been Warframe.
Yeah.
This has been a blast. This has been Warframe proper, not Warframe beta.
Yeah, it's also been a poise. It's also been a slice.
It's been a toxin.
It's been a toxin.
It's been magnetic.
Yeah, okay. Not poise. It was a noise.
It's been highly magnetic.
Yeah, exactly.